The show Thursday, November 21st. An illustrious 2-game slate for tonight. Not as bad as next week where we get a 1-gamer, I believe. So that should be a real blast. And then we have like 13 on Wednesday. We had quite the night last night in terms of late scratches and weird chalk. We will get into that shortly. Shout out to Yahoo Sports for being the presenting sponsor of this show. And shout out to Adam Shearer for making it today. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. Yeah, not doing great, but I'm here.
Last night did not go well for me. I'm pretty aware at this point that it did not go well for you. You can tell from the top of the $12 on DraftKings just sort of what was going to get you there. Scattered 150 guys making it up into the top, but lots of 1 to 5 type entry guys showing up. A lot of chalk, not awesome. But let's just dig into that now because I think there's probably a lot to talk about for yesterday's slate. Highest exposed player, Larry Nance, went for 8.7x. That would have been really awesome if all of the Warriors nonsense didn't happen because I would have had significantly more Larry Nance, and then the Warriors went ahead and broke me.
Yeah, I had a bunch of him. I got that part right. But also I accidentally didn't have lineup study on the right day, and I was just like, this. I thought the same guy had won the like 100K 2 days in a row.
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I still ended up with quite a bit of Nance, but not nearly as much when he was the only piece of value. You had 58%. Alex had 34%. You ended up light on Alec Burks. Any thoughts there other than just an ownership pivot?
Yeah, actually, I know exactly what it was. I have been using exposure caps so basically I've been running like optimal lineups and then seeing how my salary distribution goes and then basing my exposure caps in part on that. And it was basically like 4 sub 4,500 guys and then, 2 expensive guys and 2 mid-range guys. So like all of my mid-range guys ended up being relatively low owned, which I don't think was actually a good thing, but that's why it happened.
Okay. It shrunk us a little bit. This actually worked pretty well. Everybody needs to see us right out of the gate. Now people can see the screen a little bit better. Wider. I think I can. Huzzah! There we go.
Yeah, like looking at my ownership, my highest owned guys, it was like, expensive guy in Yanis, cheap guy in Bowman, cheap guy in Nance, cheap guy in Robinson, expensive guy in Doncic, and then like really flat ownerships across the mid-range guys.
So, did you watch any of that Warriors game?
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it.
I watched the first half and a little bit of the third quarter. That was one of the ugliest games of basketball I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, you kind of knew it was coming. Like the Warriors had been reasonably decent over the last couple of games, but it was just kind of you can only play well for so long when that's your roster.
It was just they had no ability to do absolutely anything. Their offense was disjointed. It was Eric Pascal getting to the paint and running into 5 Mavs. Like they were just fully collapsing. Nobody could buy a bucket. Just 100% gross. At one point in time, though, Pascal made a move and he yammed on like 3 different Mavs. It got glossed over because the game sucked. Jeff Van Gundy was just destroying the game the entire time. Just basically treating it like it wasn't happening. All he was doing was just worrying about Luka, which I think is what you should have been doing. He was unconscious in the first quarter. And you knew it didn't matter.
75 DraftKings points in 3 quarters.
And like, I'm shocked that he got to that point.
What do you mean?
Like, I just didn't. The way that first quarter went, I felt like the Mavs he could have just hit the showers immediately.
Oh, yeah.
There was no time. I figured he would get beginning of the third quarter run, and then that was just game, set, and match for the Mavs. 45% Luka for you. 57 points for Pat Beverly. Alex had 1 lineup with Bev. You had 0. He was 2% owned. But this is really the problem. 53 points out of Marcus Morris, 1% owned. 51 points out of Ben Simmons, 1% owned. 51 out of Jason Tatum, 0.8% owned. Harden went for 50 at 4%, but 50 for Harden at 11.8 isn't even good given everybody else that did it. Embiid went for 50 at 1.8% owned. Jared Allen, Jokic, all, sub 10% guys. DeAndre Hunter went for 46 at 2%. Not a great day for...
I had a bunch of him.
DeAndre Hunter?
Yeah. I had like 10%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did have 10%. Just a really weird, awkward slate. Shaq Harrison, 45.25 fantasy points at 3K, 15x. Alex didn't have him. You had 8%. At one point in time, I had like 60%, and then Kobe White was in, and then I was just like, shit, I don't know what to do anymore.
At one point in time, I had him in my cash lineup, and then I was just like, what the hell am I doing? Get that out of here.
Yeah. I mean, if Kobe White was out, I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, someone tweeted and was just like, how is Shaq Harrison only 8% owned? He seemed like a lock. And I was like, have you never seen Shaq? Have you never done the Shaq Harrison thing? Like, he's never a lock.
The guy that both Alex and I did not have projected to play a single minute in the game suddenly named the starter after Kobe White rolls his ankle, then gets told that Kobe White is still playing. That is not a lock anymore.
You didn't have him. You had him playing 0 minutes before.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't have him in a lot. I had him playing.
I didn't have him in at all. Just more minutes to. Who am I missing? But everybody else essentially.
Yeah. Right.
Incremental minutes to everyone. 1 or 2 to everybody is enough for whatever he was going to get. Certainly didn't see him playing that sort of run that he did get. Ish Smith went for 9.5x. Terrence Davis, Christian Wood, Bryn Forbes, Daniel Tice. If that's going to happen, I'm just not going to have winning days. And I didn't have a winning day.
Man, I was actually overweight on some of those guys and it didn't matter.
No. Just gross. Just fully gross. Winner of 100K. Single bullet. What else is new, especially on a day like that? Shaq Harrison, 45 points. Pat Bev at 2%. Jimmy Butler. Good game out of Jimmy Butler. Bojan Bogdanovic, 3% owned. Brook Lopez, 2% owned. Eric Bledsoe, 2% owned. Wendell Carter, 6% owned. Luka Doncic. On a day with that much chalk, the full sum of ownership that won this contest, 84.6%. Meanwhile, there were lineups in here that played 247%. Now, obviously, you don't want to do that. It was duped 100 times. Shouts to lineup sellers. But, I mean, that is just bonkers contrarian. I would never get that. I could never get that lineup. I literally could never have that lineup in 150 lineups, given that slate. Would you ever have something like that?
Probably not. I was actually just looking to make sure that I didn't have the lineup you're talking about. But out of my 150 lineups, I had 2 that were duplicated by one person, and then everything else was unique.
What's I want to see your lowest total exposure.
54.5. Top was 203.
Wow. So you could get there. Bledsoe,
to what? A dupe with 1 million people?
No. To that many 2% guys.
Oh, yeah.
The most owned guy you had in that lineup was Amari Spellman at 12%. Amari Spellman at 12% should never be the most owned guy in a lineup.
It's a pretty solid lineup, though.
I literally could never have that lineup, and that's where there is still an edge to be had. Kudos, John. Kudos. Yes. I should be planning my day more like the single bullet guy that shit out $100,000 last night.
You should be planning your day more like me, who had a 55%, lineup.
Sure. Sorting by the sum of exposure in reverse. Every lineup that's on my screen for you was out of the money.
Yeah, but that just had to do with my terrible lineups, not with the ownership.
I didn't mean it by any... it was just the full straight red column.
Yes, you did. You meant exactly what you said.
No, I don't think so.
Every lineup I'm looking at of yours was out of the money, and that's why I don't need to be like you.
No. Just from the 54 to 100, I would guess mine would look the exact same way. I took a bath in 150 on DK, so I assume it's the same. Those were not bad basketball players with the exception of Shaq Harrison. No, it's just generally going to be a very difficult lineup to win with, given the you need this specific outcome of the slate where everything that people are on was not the stuff to have. Doesn't happen all that often, especially on an 11 gamer. Like, what's the average ownership for the 150 maxers last night? All right, 150. Oh, don't group it by that. Group it by 150, Josh. Come on. Exposure, value aggregation, average. Average exposure for each lineup to the people that played 150. 151.88.
Alex's low was 73. His high was 247.
Now I just want to know what mine was. I would guess my low is massively higher, but at the same time, getting updated ownership into my sheet at the end didn't go as well as I wanted it to, and I might have had some slip through the cracks, but let's see. Need to find a mini max. All in all, just I'm happy that slate went away. I said it to Eddie before we went off the air. I'm either going to destroy this slate or be destroyed, and be destroyed ended up being the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of these I'm in. This is going to be annoying. Hopefully it's this one. And it was. Yes. Okay. So, of my 150, what's my lowest exposure? 118. A lot of Murray. Ugh.
Who? Oh, DeJounte?
Yeah.
Or Jamal?
DeJounte.
He ended up doing fine.
Yeah. Lowest owned lineup: Murray, Burks, Joe Harris, Chris, Towns, Van Vliet, Carter, Jokic.
How did Chris end up doing? Because I didn't have as much as him as I thought I would or that I wanted.
28 and a quarter.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. He was gross. Saw him airball a shot at one point and just turnover. He looked like he never played basketball before. It was very bothersome. The moment I started seeing it, I was like, cool, that's the guy I hitched my wagon to today.
Yeah. Really welcome to the Marquise Chris experience.
Yeah. Really excited. Marquise Chris should be so thankful. Josh, I thought you had like 70% Shaq. Yeah. I did until that tweet came through that said Kobe White is still playing. And then I ended up with 13%. Burks at 79, Marquise Chris at 68, Kai Bowman at 65, Larry Nance at 55. Needed more out of Towns, that's for sure. Ultimately, just a really disgusting slate that I'm happy is over.
Yep. Wish we had more than a 2-gamer to like get back at it tonight.
I know, you and me both. Did you? So like as that news is coming out, does that make you more excited for the slate or less excited for this?
What news?
Like when we get Draymond, we get the Kobe White weirdness.
Normally I would say more, but it made me less because I was scrambling to get my stuff finished to make lineups anyway, and then I'm getting messages. You're like, "Oh, this guy's out. This guy might not play," and I'm just like, "Okay, well, I don't have time for this." So it made me less. But
okay.
If I was like prepared and had and like ready to go, I would say more.
Okay.
Like I think that I think when you get news like that, there's naturally a bigger edge because like Kai Bowman, for example, obviously he didn't do very well, but he was 23.9% owned in the $12 on DraftKings. If we had gotten news at 10 a.m. that Draymond was out, he would have been, 54 or something.
Right. Oh God. He got a steal and a dunk at one point in time. I was like, there we go. That's 5, at least for me on FanDuel.
Yeah. He picked it up like the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and then he just disappeared again.
Yeah. It was it's just a testament to like how bad that first half went. And it was like, okay, well, no matter what, they still have to finish this game. So
Right.
they don't have the bodies. Don't get in foul trouble. All I was cheering for was like, don't be Willie Cauley-Stein. That was the one guy I didn't want to go crazy. All right. Well, let's go through everything else here. Very much shout out to Yahoo Sports for being the presenting sponsor of this show, of the Deeper Dive, of the Early Bird podcast. I am dropping Emacs Cash Building Blocks article into YouTube chat right now. Some information at the bottom for signing up. Click the link, use the promo code AWESOMO, get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. You can get into their baller contest. That's going to be the biggest contest they run for both NBA, NFL, clear across the board. You're going to be paying less management fees. They have CSV edits now. Just a great place to play. So shout out to Yahoo. Today, our free content, Awesomo's live blog will be in front of the paywall today. The top showdown plays article will be in front for the NFL, and then NHL projections are free today. So check all of that out. Hit the like button if you're here. NBA Strategy is the promo code if you want to sign up. 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. We've got a 2-gamer starting at 8 o'clock, so late lock today. You ready to do this?
Let's go.
The Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Portland Trailblazers. 121 implied total for the Bucks, 109.5 for the Blazers. Blazers still without Damian Lillard. They've got some other questions as well. Milwaukee, I think we'll start there. Portland's defense, 5% worse than average so far this season. A little bit of a pace-up spot for Milwaukee, which is fun. Start with the freaky elephant in the room. 12-6 on FanDuel, 10-6 on DK, 19,000 on Fantasy Draft, and $57 on Yahoo. How in the world do we manage Yanis Antetokounmpo on a day like today?
Roster him and then be really mad when he sucks again and only scores like 50 points. But I mean, like at that price, there's no real way that I can get away from him.
Yeah. I have him projected right now for 65 DK points, which is 14 more than the next closest guy.
Yeah, I mean,
what's his ownership today, if you had to guess? 80?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is...
It basically, I mean, with it being a 2-game slate, like raw points obviously just matter even more. Like, you'll be disappointed if Giannis, doesn't go for 65 plus, but even if you were to get 58 again, like you did last night, there's a really good chance he's the highest scoring player on the slate.
It'll be really hard for him to, like, if he breaks 50, it'll be really hard for him to not be in the winning lineup.
Right.
Eric Bledsoe, 7,700 on FanDuel, 6,800 on DraftKings. I would say that he is my second favorite piece of Milwaukee. I don't think that that's a stretch at all. How do you feel about Bledsoe, and what else do you like from the Bucks?
Yeah, I agree with you on Bledsoe being my second favorite piece. His usage goes up without Middleton. His assist rate's been good all year. He's still got some minutes concerns, but it makes it a little bit easier for him to play bigger minutes now that they're running George Hill alongside him for more time. So I think that he's the second best guy. I think Brook Lopez is okay. Whiteside obviously isn't the best at defending the 3-point line. So Lopez should get some open looks. George Hill as a value guy, I wouldn't play him in the same lineup as Bledsoe.
Keep talking for a second. I'm going to sneeze.
Yes, back. I think. What?
I'm back. That's invigorating.
Yeah,
we got ownership.
I was pulling up last night's game to see. George Hill ended up playing 23 minutes. Bledsoe played 25.
Okay.
Foul trouble? Yeah.
So we got ownership. 81% on Yanis, 87 on FanDuel. That all makes perfect sense to me. Bledsoe at 69 on FanDuel, 48 on DK. Yeah. Here's the rest of it for the Bucks. We'll kind of hit on everybody. 41% for Brook Lopez on FanDuel, 38 on DK. We've got Dante DiVincenzo in the teens. George Hill for 4,400 on FanDuel is at 28%. And then Sterling Brown is in the teens as well. Anything that I said there that stands out as problematic?
Sterling Brown in the teens?
18% owned Sterling Brown on DraftKings right now.
That doesn't seem great. I mean, I get it because it's a 2-game slate and he's cheap, but like, why?
Yeah. Would you rather have Brook Lopez or Dante DiVincenzo today?
What's the price difference? I don't have their
$1,000.
salaries. Lopez.
38% on Lopez right now, 19% on DiVincenzo. 28% for George Hill feels high, but at the same time, and that's for FanDuel, at the same time, there might only be 5 point guards, so you need to split 200% in some way. We've got Javon Carter at 35% right now. I'm not entirely sure I agree with that, but clearly we'll get to that shortly.
Right now we have Sterling Brown at 18% on DraftKings and George Hill at 11. I would much rather have George Hill.
I don't even have them as particularly close. Like, George Hill is miles ahead of Sterling Brown for me.
Yeah, Sterling Brown's $100 more.
Yeah. So that would be an easy way to get different. If you're fading Yanis in a lineup, what is your goal? To just have that many more of the mid-tier dudes? Like, what is...
I guess. Like, it's not something that I think I'll be doing very much of. But yeah, I mean, you would, I guess, get like if you don't have Yanis, get like Bledsoe plus Lopez plus maybe someone else and just hope that they all go nuts and Yanis doesn't play. Like, I don't know. I don't really know how to get away from a 10-6 Yanis on a 2-game slate.
Yeah, I don't really know either.
Because like
57 on Yahoo looks nice too.
The end of what I was saying was going to be like, hope Yanis goes for like 55. And then I remembered it was a 2-game slate. And if he goes for 55, you still want him in your lineup.
Yeah, I don't really see a way to get around it. I'm just trying to, I'm racking my brain trying to think of the scenario where he's not in a winning lineup. And I don't think that exists on this slate.
Right. He has to like foul out in the first quarter or something.
Yeah, which not happening.
What'd you say?
I called it. Here comes the foul out in the first quarter.
Yeah. It's just normally I think we end up being really, really high on the best like value plays on the slate because it's really hard for those guys to fail. But on this particular slate, I would expect to just be basically at 100% Giannis and then mixing and matching the Sterling Brown, George Hill, Wesley Matthews type guys and just hoping I get the one that goes off.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Giggity Gaming says Booker greater than Giannis in tier 1. Good luck with that, man.
Booker's like ceiling is Giannis's medium projection.
Yeah, that's going to be a real tough sell. In a tiers game, that's going to be a real tough sell. Like, that's essentially a cash question, and you're not picking Giannis. Like, the odds of Booker outscoring Giannis are shockingly low. I wish I had my sim built. Let me check it out quick. All right, let's go to the Portland side. We know that we have no Dame. Anthony Simons is questionable. I don't believe he's the only guy that's questionable either. Come on. I'll never understand this. Every once in a while, like, URLs that I go to constantly just stop being in my search bar. Like, I can't just search, like, a site that I go to every day, multiple times a day, just goes away.
Pornhub?
Yeah. Not Alex. Anthony Simons, questionable. Hassan Whiteside, questionable. Pau Gasol has been waived, as if that mattered. CJ McCollum, 7,500 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DK. 13-3 on Fantasy Draft, $30 on Yahoo. 55% owned on FanDuel, 48% on DraftKings. Would you rather have CJ McCollum or Eric Bledsoe? Both owned at 48% on DK.
CJ.
Yeah, you and me both. I don't think it's close
J-
either.
So I mean, I think it's kind of close because McCollum's efficiency isn't really there without Lillard. So like you give him, the rates that he's going to get as far as usage and assist percentage go, and he looks like a great play. But if you dial it back for him being much less efficient, he averages, I think it's like 1.15 points per minute or something. But the minutes are going to be a lot higher than Bledsoe's, you would expect. And even though he's inefficient without Lillard, just the opportunities are still there. Like on a game to game basis or a minute to minute basis, he's inefficient. But when you shoot as much as he can without Lillard and have the ball in your hand so much, you're going to have games where you just go nuts. And it's harder for Bledsoe since he's playing with Giannis.
A really good point. McCollum for 7,500 on FanDuel is standing out as the spot that I want him most. In terms of shooting guards, we've got Drew Holiday at 87, Booker at 85, McCollum at 75. And then you're dropping all the way down to like Reddick, DiVincenzo, Brown. So right now, Holiday, Devin Booker, and CJ McCollum are making up 163% of the ownership at shooting guard. Fun. All right, so let's say Whiteside questionable. He's at 16% on FanDuel, 25 on DK, where he's 6,500. Assuming Whiteside plays, how does he shake out for you in terms of centers?
Really good at 6,500 on DraftKings.
Yeah, he would be my top center. The choices are relatively limited, but I think that he would be the guy I would want the most. Anybody with center eligibility, nobody really pulling away in ownership. Whiteside at 25, Brook Lopez 38, Jackson Hayes 21, Kaminsky 33, Scal 19. So, you're getting these guys all roughly in the 20s range. All right, so Simons is in the teens, 48 and 4,700. If he plays, how do you feel about him? If he doesn't play, what does that open for you?
If he plays, I think he's, a good play again. He played 36 minutes last game without Lillard. Didn't have a great game, and he's not going to be like a really high usage guy playing most of his minutes alongside McCollum, but he's still cheap enough where he's, a pretty strong option at 4,700. If he doesn't play, then I think you get, I think you get more minutes, probably a couple more minutes for Bazemore, but you would get Gary Trent in the rotation, I would expect. I actually thought he would be in the rotation last game against the Pelicans, and he wasn't. But if Simons were out, I think he would have to be.
He doesn't. Yeah, I don't think that there's a choice if Simons ends up being out. They're just starting to run low on bodies.
Right.
Bazemore and Hood are both in the 20s in ownership on DK. Bazemore 13% on FanDuel. Hood just 6. I think that is interesting to think about just in terms of small forward. Even if you're locking down, let's say 100% of Yanis. Are Brandon Ingram and Kelly Oubre like that essential? I don't know. Maybe. I like the idea of getting to a 5% owned Rodney Hood on a day like today.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because.
Yeah, I mean he's not good on a game to game basis, but on a 2-game slate, anytime you can be contrarian by rostering a guy who's going to play more than 30 minutes, that's pretty appealing.
Same for Kent Bazemore, 13% owned on FanDuel. If he's 13% owned, I have to assume that he is one of the 2 small forwards more than that. That seems like the first place that I see where value is standing out relative to ownership. Not that I'm terribly excited about those 2 guys, but
right. It's the most likely outcome is that Rodney Hood plays 32 really empty minutes. Yeah. But anytime you're that cheap and playing, 32 plus minutes, you at least have the opportunity to do well. Like he's going to have some good games this year. You're not going to guess when they are because it's totally random, basically. But especially on a 2-game slate, if you're going to get low ownership there, you just plug him in and hope that this is one of those nights.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. Now we got to talk about it. What do we do with Carmelo Anthony? 3,800 on FanDuel, 3,900 on DK. He stinks.
He doesn't know it though, is the thing, and that's why he'll be useful for DFS.
21% owned on DraftKings at 3,900. 8 on FanDuel. 8 on FanDuel at small forward is very appealing.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be. 0.54 fantasy points in that first one.
He had a 36.5% usage rate.
How many minutes does he play?
More
Especially
than
if one of
24.
these guys are out.
28.
Yeah,
He played 24 in his first game in 2 years.
Yeah. I put him in for 24 right now just to hold it and see where it shook out. But
I loved how that quote came out yesterday too about he signed with the Blazers because he was guaranteed a big role, and it's just everyone except for Carmelo was like, wow, that was an embarrassing game against the Pelicans, and he's just like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get tons of minutes.
I mean, they started off talking about him on the Dunked On podcast after the game, and they explained it perfectly. A classic Carmelo game. He was minus 20 in a game where his team lost by 10.
Right. I think almost every player on that team was positive except for Melo.
He's brutal, dude. He's just so bad defensively.
Right.
So that should go really well here. Gonna have to guard Brook Lopez probably, which might not even be that bad. Nasir Little had himself a little bit of a day in that last one. We've got Scal as 19% owned. Scal is 46% owned on FanDuel right now.
He's a power forward there, right?
He is.
Yeah.
There are not power forward. Here are the power forwards for FanDuel today that I have projected with fantasy points. Dario Saric at 5,100. Frank Kaminsky at 4,600. Scal at 3,600. Ilyasova at the min. Melli and Czech Diallo. There is not a real basketball player to be found in that list. And Frank Kaminsky is good. If Hassan Whiteside plays, what do you think Scal's ownership is at power forward on FanDuel?
Still reasonably high because 18 minutes at power forward on the slate isn't really that bad.
That is the most disgusting group of players I've ever seen. Czech Diallo is projected for 21% ownership. I cannot wait to see how this all shakes out. Some of these guys are just going to get we might not have if Czech Diallo is going to be 21% owned. Maybe the chops aren't going to be as extreme as I thought they were going to be. At least if I play well, because I'm not going to have 21% Czech Diallo unless we start losing a couple more people. If if Whiteside ends up out, it's going to concentrate a little bit different. But
right,
just give me your son Ilyasova and I'll cross my fingers instead.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, if you're fading Yanis, play Ilyasova.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing too. If you're fading Yanis, you don't need Ilyasova from a salary standpoint.
Yeah.
But my thinking was if Yanis gets in huge foul trouble, Ilyasova is the biggest beneficiary.
Yeah. You might need him at that. I don't know.
If
he gets in foul trouble, what's your ceiling for Ilyasova? 35?
Yeah, really just don't fade Giannis. But.
Yeah. All right, let's rank the Portland guys for DK. Assuming everyone is in. DJ McCollum.
McCollum, White. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just thinking out loud. Go ahead.
McCollum, Whiteside. Simons, Melo, Bazemore.
I think I prefer Simons to Whiteside on DraftKings.
I don't.
Just because of the positionality. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I would have to run a crunch to take a look at it. On FanDuel, I think that Rodney Hood and Carmelo Anthony are looking like the best leverage opportunities in a DPP. McCollum, Whiteside, Simons, clearly the best three guys that you can possibly play. News will matter a ton here, but really like the idea of getting to Hood and or Melo on FanDuel. I think it's just a really easy spot to pick up some low-ish owned dudes.
Yeah. Milwaukee also allowing the most 3-point attempts and the fourth highest 3-point percentage to opponents this year. Not bad for a guy that just camps behind the 3-point line like Hood.
Okay. Well, normally I try to hit our first break at the midway point, so looks like that worked out perfectly. Now that we're at the halfway point of this two-gamer, we'll let you guys know what's going on later today. First and foremost, everybody that is here, don't be afraid to hit that like button. Helps us out a ton. 474 people here to watch us break this bad boy down. Coming up after this show, 11 a.m., Laffy and Sal talking some NFL strategy. We will have the boss man, Alex Baker, and Ben Rasa at 12:30 doing a show for the Steelers Browns. No, was that last week? Is that today?
Today is Houston and Indianapolis.
It was last week. Colts and Texans. Thursday night football showdown slate. Let me update this bad boy for myself. Oh, I do have Colts and Texans written here. Stupid. I had it right. I deleted Ben and Alex's name and replaced that with Colts and Texans. So the Colts and the Texans are hosting this show at 12:30. But yeah, they do showdown strategy show every Thursday. Check that out. 4 p.m. You'll get Jake doing NHL. You'll get Alex behind the paywall for his game plan stream. At 6 p.m. Eastern Time, the Deeper Dive will kick off with Laffy and Adam. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you'll get Fast Eddie Fear and Chris Spags breaking it all down once again. Gonna be a fun one tonight. I'm actually mildly excited for this. I wouldn't have expected to be interested in a two-gamer, but I think that there's some ways to go today that are going to be unique.
Yeah, I agree.
Final game, 10:30 late night hammer. Phoenix Suns, New Orleans Pelicans. Suns 119.25 implied total. Pelicans 114.75. We'll start on the Phoenix side. Big time pace up spot for the Suns. Ricky Rubio is doubtful. Frank Kaminsky is probable. Aaron Baines is already out. And Ty Jerome is a couple weeks away. I don't think anybody cares. Let's start with Booker. 65% owned on FanDuel, 56% on DraftKings. How do you feel about Devin Booker here without Ricky Rubio?
I feel good. I think that it's a good matchup, and I think that you should just see the ball in his hands a lot more. You should see more assists. You should see more shot volume, less efficiency than we've seen this year, but that doesn't really matter for DFS since field goal percentage isn't a thing. So I think that assuming Rubio's out, Booker is a really, really good play.
I agree. Very clearly my top play on FanDuel from the Suns. I think he is an easy pairing with CJ McCollum. I really like going that direction. One thing I do want to talk about, though, is the point guard situation here. So, was Javon Carter out in the last game, or did he just simply not play and they went to Elie Okobo late after Rubio was done?
I think they just went to Okobo.
Okay. So Okobo didn't come on until midway part of the third quarter, played the rest of the game. Javon Carter got no time whatsoever. Carter projected for 35% ownership right now, 21 on DK. What's your anticipation for splitting minutes between Okobo and Javon Carter? Given that ownership, are you projecting Carter in? Do you think they just chop Elie Okobo and Carter? Is it just Okobo?
I think it's tough. Hopefully we get some sort of news from a Phoenix, beat writer. But in the prior game that Rubio missed, Javon Carter started. He played about 24 minutes. But then in this game, you had, Elie Okobo, who played 4 minutes in the game that Rubio sat out, play basically the entire second half. They started Tyler Johnson, which I think is another piece that's interesting. Tyler Johnson, we know can be a productive player when he gets minutes. So $3,700 Tyler Johnson, $3,300 Javon Carter, or $3,400 Okobo on DraftKings. If Tyler Johnson's starting, I would just take Tyler Johnson.
Yeah.
But actually, even if he's not starting, I would probably take Tyler Johnson because
his minutes aren't going anywhere.
Right. He's going to get his minutes. It's just a matter of what are they doing with Okobo and Carter. At that point, I think I would just rather take the lower owned guy because we don't know exactly how it's going to shake out.
Do you think we get any news before 8 o'clock?
Probably not.
Yeah, I would agree. So for the FanDuel people, we've got Javon Carter at the minimum, Elie Okobo at the minimum, Tyler Johnson at the minimum.
Just Tyler Johnson.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, if Javon Carter is the way that we have it right now, which is not going to be the way that it's going to be by the time we get to lock. 35% ownership to Carter, 0 to Okobo. You would just play a chunk of Okobo if you're playing 150 lineups on FanDuel, just because.
Right. Yeah. If you're playing 150 lineups, you want to have exposure to to Carter and Okobo just to cover yourself for however this game goes.
Yeah.
But if you're playing like one lineup or whatever, and you're trying to decide between them, Tyler Johnson's the one to go to.
100%. Without question, Tyler Johnson's going to play 20 plus minutes.
Right. Like if you are on the bad end of the minutes, you're getting like 20 minutes from Tyler Johnson, which at a minimum salary on a 2-game slate is fine.
Yeah.
If you're on the good end of it, you can get 30 plus.
Yeah.
But the bad end for Okobo and Carter at a similar price point is 0.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Going to be something to pay attention to, and I'm going to assume we don't get any information on it, but pay attention to the garbage backup point guards for Phoenix. I actually didn't even remember that they had Elie Okobo still on the roster, which was funny. Kelly Oubre, 27% owned on FanDuel, 38% on DraftKings. He's 7,300 and 67 respectively. I like his Yahoo price at $23. This just seems like a kind of no-brainer guy that's going to be in like a third of your lineups no matter what.
Yep. Should get a little bit more usage without Rubio too, I would think.
Would you rather have Kelly Oubre or Brandon Ingram on FanDuel? Oubre, $1,600 cheaper.
Probably Ingram, but I think it's close. Like it really depends what that 1,600 is getting you.
Yeah.
Like Ingram is obviously the better play, but the upside for Oubre is there. So if you're getting a solid upgrade for that 1,600, then go Oubre.
And then for 6,700 on DraftKings, more than happy getting to Oubre. Ingram, probably the better play there, only separated by $300. So, no Aaron Baines, which means Frank Kaminsky going to be the starting center here. 4,600 on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Kaminsky projected for 60% ownership on FanDuel, where, as I mentioned before, there's basically only 2 power forwards that are good. They are both on the Suns. That'd be him and Saric. I don't think that anything is up for debate. Kaminsky is as close, like, Kaminsky is kind of a lock on FanDuel. I don't mean from a performance standpoint, but like of where the options are, Frank Kaminsky is going to have to play a bundle here.
Yeah. The rotation or the minutes against Sacramento were really weird. Yeah. Like that, but that was a game where it looks like the bench unit, like the Suns were getting blown out, and then the bench unit brought them back. So I don't want to read too much into the fact that Kaminsky played 23 minutes and Saric played 21. I think it was just kind of a weird game flow. So I think that you still kind of have to project Kaminsky for 30 plus. You have to project Saric for 20 plus or 30 plus.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. So Saric is the backup center here. Is that what we're seeing, or is that what you're seeing? Seems to be the way that they're running it.
So Diallo was the backup center in the first quarter, and then Saric was the backup center in the second quarter. Diallo played a bunch in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that they're going to run Check Diallo as the straight backup 5. I mean, he will be the backup 5. I don't necessarily think he plays all of the minutes that Kaminsky doesn't.
Right. So, I mean, I think he could, but the thing to keep in mind is that it's most likely still, 14 to 16 minutes.
Right. I gave him 12 as of right now, but I feel like I'm low there. 21% projected ownership for Check Diallo. That seems like
that seems really high.
Yeah.
That seems really high.
Saric is at 57%, Kaminsky at 60. Both of those make perfect sense to me. Mikal Bridges, 3,900 on FanDuel, 3,900 on DraftKings, single-digit ownership today. Is that another easy spot to just find a guy to be different?
I think Hood's the better one just because, the minutes are there for Hood. Bridges doesn't really play.
Yeah.
Like, he played 26 minutes last game, but I think that had more to do with just the weird game flow than anything. Like, he played 11 minutes in the first half.
I think with having Baines and Rubio out, that like his minutes are a bit more secure. Not that he does anything with them, really. They
don't have to be, though, is the thing. Like, Oubre can play the 4.
It's true. So that brings up the next question. What do you think of Cameron Johnson at 4K on DK? 20% expected ownership right now.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. He's been taking minutes from like everybody recently, so I think that I think his minutes are actually more secure than Bridges. Like I don't even disagree with you that Baines being out kind of opens the door for Bridges to get more, but at the same time, like Saric can play 34 minutes at the 4. Diallo gets the backup center minutes, and Bridges still plays like 16 minutes or whatever. Cameron Johnson's been just playing like every position and stealing minutes for a couple of weeks now. So it's not that you expect him to do great things at 4K, but I think the minutes are going to be there for him.
Here's the real
like
question.
I think he plays like 24 to 28 minutes.
Yeah, I gave him 24. Is there a Sun you won't have today?
Probably not.
Yeah, that is really disgusting to think about.
Yeah. Ricky Rubio, hopefully.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not going to have Dan Marley either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in some way, every single Phoenix Sun that you project into the rotation is somehow viable. Not fun.
Yeah, I agree, because there's just not that many guys in the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 2-game slate.
Yeah. Like, you don't want a lot of Okobo or Carter, but if one of those guys gets 20 plus minutes, then you're going to be mad that you didn't.
Right.
So yeah, I think that here's one for all of the you guys just recommend everybody crowd. We're literally recommending everybody on the Suns. Now we'll go to the Pelicans, where it's just as wonky. Go through the walking wounded here. Feel bad for the Pels. Lonzo Ball, questionable. Frank Jackson is back. Josh Hart already out. Derek Favors already out. Jahlil Okafor questionable. So I have already projected Lonzo in, Okafor in. Who the hell knows? Do you think, let's start it here. Do you think we know anything about Lonzo Ball or Jahlil Okafor before 8 o'clock tonight?
Yeah, they've been pretty good with their injury news. I think we'll get it. They didn't play yesterday, so they'll have shoot around today. Right. I think we get it. The Pels have been good with injury news. Their beat writers suck. Like they have shoot around, and the beat writers are just like, don't know. They're questionable.
I get this feeling we're going to get 2 game time decisions, and everybody that's when I mass withdraw.
Yeah, I didn't realize until right now that Jackson Hayes only played 20 minutes last game.
Yeah, that's
stupid.
Let's start with Drew Holiday. 8,700 on FanDuel, 82 on DK, 30 to 40% ownership. Is there nothing matters, right? Like, you're playing as much Drew Holiday as you want to get to, regardless of the status of anybody else.
Yeah, Ball being out helps him, but he'd be a good play even with Ball in. But his salary somehow dropped on DraftKings, and if Ball is out, then he's one of the easiest plays on the slate.
I don't really love him on DK at 8,200. Like, that's a big price tag.
I do.
Would you rather have him or Booker?
True.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of, if Ball's out, it's kind of comparable, where like they're just getting more ball handling responsibility, they're getting more usage, but Drew's the cheaper one, and I think he does more when he's on the floor than Booker does.
Yeah, I think I would rather have Devin Booker in that scenario. Would you rather have Drew Holiday or CJ McCollum?
I think it's close because CJ's 700 less, but price, I would say Drew. I'm also just a huge Drew Holiday fan.
We might be losing this stream. Oh, there we go. I think I have Drew third of those 3 guys, but
I don't know why you hate him, but hopefully you come around like you did on Luka when I convinced you that you were wrong.
Yeah. Look, I've got a Luka t-shirt. I wear him like a respectable human being. I don't carry him around on my feet.
He's on my feet right now, actually.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't think that it matters whether you like Booker, Holiday, or McCollum more. They are just 3 guys you're going to be playing a ton one way or the other.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that entirely. Like,
I'm gonna have 50% of all of them.
Yeah, me saying I like Drew more than Booker and McCollum was in no way me saying like I don't really like Booker or McCollum.
Right.
It's just
Same. Brandon Ingram, 8,900 on FanDuel, 7K on DraftKings. I don't think we have to touch on the DraftKings price. That's just stupid. He's 64% owned, and that's exactly where it should be. Well, I mean, it should be higher.
Yep.
And there's no reason
Yeah.
not to like him there.
No, not at all. His salary went down. Like he was one of the highest owned guys last time New Orleans played, and then his salary dropped.
I don't love 8,900 on FanDuel.
No, it's not. It's not great. Like it's still okay, but it's definitely that's a price point where like you actually need him to play well. Whereas on DraftKings, it's just like you need him to play.
Not to mention, you're already essentially lock buttoning 12-6 Yanis.
Right.
This is the spot with Kenrich Williams projected for 6% ownership. Cameron Johnson at 5. Rodney Hood at 6. Bazemore at 13. Melo at 8. I like just hoping that Brandon Ingram doesn't beat me and having more of the value for small forward today.
Yeah.
If Lonzo plays, how do you feel? 5K on DraftKings is tough to ignore.
Yeah, I would roster, especially because if he's ruled in, it's probably, even if it's not like after lock, it's probably later in the day. So you're just naturally going to get a little bit lower ownership. 5K is a really dumb price tag.
6,900 on FanDuel.
It's a nice salary too. Like it's he's not overpriced there.
I see what you did there. That was good.
Yeah. Starting to wake up, on top of it now.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I mean, like 5K on DraftKings, it's the same as Ingram. Like 80 Ingram on FanDuel is a good play, but you have to actually consider, you have to think about like how the rest of your lineup looks. Whereas on DraftKings, it's like, yeah, just put this guy in your lineup and don't even think twice. Same thing goes for Lonzo.
Here are the salaries for point guards on FanDuel today. Bledsoe 7,700. Lonzo Ball, if he is in, 6,900. Anthony Simons at 48, George Hill 44, Tyler Johnson flat min, Frank Jackson 42, Javon Carter, Elie Okobo flat min. Like, if Ball's not there, you are spending a shockingly low amount of money at point guard without any choice. There's just nobody else there.
I almost was like, well, no, just go Lillard and Bledsoe, but don't go Lillard.
No, don't go Lillard. Jackson Hayes, 5K on FanDuel, 5,100 on DraftKings. I've got him in for 24 minutes. This could shake out really in any direction. It probably doesn't matter if Okafor is in or out. I mean, it's clearly better for his minutes if Okafor is out, but I think he has to play one way or the other. How do you feel about Jackson Hayes?
He could play anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I like him because he's productive when he's on the floor. He gets you a lot of he gets you blocks. He, obviously gets his alley-oops and everything. This is a game though where I'm not really confident in his minutes. We'd seen Nico Melli closing over him even prior to last game, but now you're talking about Frank Kaminsky at the 5 for most of the minutes. If the Pelicans want to, there's no reason that Melli can't be on the floor for more minutes than Hayes.
Yeah, I have nothing to compare this to, but like I just see no reason why they wouldn't want to still give him 20-something minutes in this spot, regardless.
I still think his floor is like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of, are you getting? I would feel better if the opposing center were like a not Frank Kaminsky type that's running around the point line. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd feel better if the opposing center was a center. As far as is Hayes going to be in the closing lineup? It definitely could be Nico Melli, but I still think either way, Hayes gets 20-something minutes.
Agreed. And if Okafor is out, I feel very comfortable with Hayes.
Yeah, it really shouldn't matter.
No, he's playing 20 regardless.
Yeah. I mean, like I would like to think that Gentry at this point is just going to play Hayes over Okafor, but maybe not. It's Gentry.
Kenrich Williams, 5,600 and 5,300. I didn't expect him to be all that great with Brandon Ingram coming back in that last one, but he sure as shit was.
Yeah, he's just someone that I really have trouble getting to at that price tag because he's a low usage guy. The minutes are there, which is nice, but he just has to run into like so many random stats over that time to really beat that salary. So that's a guy where I'll probably end up just coming in underweight and hoping he doesn't pick up like 6 steals and 4 blocks or something.
6% owned on FanDuel, 11 on DraftKings. You might not be that underweight.
Okay, I take it back then. I kind of assumed he was going to be higher.
Yeah. Last year he was like significantly more productive at the 4 than the 3, right? He had like shockingly different rebound rates given the 2 positions.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that sounds right.
Yeah. So he's obviously not going to be playing all that much 4 with Ingram on the floor. Reddick.
Well, Ingram's the 3 when they're both on the floor, I think.
I think we're probably just calling them both 3.5 and moving forward.
Yeah.
Like at that point in time, they're not either of those things. Reddick is JJ Reddick. I don't get the sense I would have a lot. If you told me he had 45 fantasy points, I'd be like, okay. If you told me he had 15, I'd be like, okay. He's the one guy that like I don't know what to do with in a fantasy. Have 10% and hope that's in the good lineup you have.
Yeah, I mean, he played 32 minutes last game. I think that's what you would expect if Lonzo's out. He doesn't do anything except shoot and make threes. Like, yeah, he's just like a completely neutral play.
Yeah. Do you have any interest in Okafor if he plays?
No, because he shouldn't get minutes.
3,800 on DraftKings. No ownership.
I just don't know why he would play. Like, even if he's healthy, I don't know why he would play.
That's fair. Mccollum 4,700 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. Is his price too high to care about with any sort of volume?
I don't think so. I mean, he played 27 minutes last game. I think there's a good chance he closes over Hayes tonight. I'm not going to get to a lot because of the price, but I think that it's still a reasonable salary. Like if you think he's going to close against Kaminsky, then it's pretty easy to give him like 26 minutes.
Yeah, I gave him 16. That number could be very different by the time we get closer to lock.
It like entirely depends on him closing. He played 8 minutes. So Hayes, like in the last game, Melly played the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. Then Hayes subbed in at basically the 9-minute mark. Hayes played 49 seconds, and then Melly played the rest of the quarter. Like if you're getting those last 8 minutes, it puts him, up around 26. But if you're not getting those and they're going to Hayes, then yeah, he's at 16 to 18 minutes. It's just really volatile. I would just, if nobody's playing Melly, then get him in some lineups. If he's popular for some reason, then just ignore him and hope that you get the right game flow.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Frank Jackson, Eton Moore, I assume are just all zeros for us.
Pretty much.
Frank Jackson is 3,600. Is there?
Yeah, Frank Jackson's the one. Yeah. Frank Jackson's the most interesting one to me. He only played 19 minutes last game, but if Lonzo's out, you could see that go up. That was Jackson's first game back in a couple games.
From a left neck injury.
A left neck?
Yes. That is how it was described. Left neck.
Yeah. So I think that Jackson's like decent dart throw guy. Alexander-Walker has basically been Drew's backup more or less when Jackson's there. So I still think Jackson's ahead of him in the rotation.
Okay. Well, we obviously put in quite a bit of work talking about literally every single player on the slate because we have to. Let's sum it up now for the people. On DraftKings, who do you expect to be your 4 most owned players?
Yanis, Ingram, Mccollum, Drew, Booker, Kaminsky.
Not great with numbers, are you?
Well, I mean, you know how it is. Like, I just named like 4 expensive guys, and chances are they won't actually be my highest owned because I need value.
I can't help it you answered the question wrong.
What'd you say?
I can't help it that you answered the question wrong.
Yeah, whatever. Kaminsky, I'll put Kaminsky up there. Definitely Yanis, Ingram, and then, I don't know, take your pick of one of the guards.
I'm going to answer for FanDuel. I'm going to give 1 at each position. So I get 5. But
yeah, this is a bullshit game.
Well, I deserve it. Eric Bledsoe, DJ McCollum, Kelly Oubre, Frank Kaminsky, got Hassan Whiteside, but in a way, I hope he's out.
So then your answer is Scal.
Scal's a power forward.
Okay, well, Scal would be your answer over whoever you said a power forward. I wasn't listening.
Kaminsky is the power forward on FanDuel as well. That'd be close, right? I mean, Scal's $1,000 cheaper. Might not matter.
Yeah, just play Kaminsky and Scal in every lineup.
Yeah, well, you also have Saric then in that scenario too at 5,100. It's not like he's priced in a crazy way. I'm gonna run a crunch quick for DK just to see sort of what this ends up looking like, and then you and I can get out of here. But I have no idea what's possible right now. Turns out I didn't even have to run the crunch. I still had everything in here from making cheat sheets. So highest projected lineup for me right now: George Hill, Anthony Simons, Rodney Hood, Yanis, Whiteside, McCollum, Cam Johnson, Devin Booker. That uses every bit of salary. These are going to be some really gross lineups.
They are.
Carmelo Anthony in my second most optimal lineup. Along with Kent Bazemore. 5 Blazers. 5 Blazers. Fun day for cash.
Yeah.
Yikes. Oh, boy. What would be... we'll get out of here.
We're getting some more Nasir Little Rookie of the Year talking slack.
Bless your soul for engaging in that talk. Way to go, Dadler. Way to go. All right. Laffy has been tasked today with the really difficult deep dive article. Not sure how he's going to be able to get through that monster. As I mentioned before, we've got the NFL show coming up at 11. We've got Alex and Ben doing Showdown Talk at 12:30. Jake for NHL at 4. Alex's Game Plan show at 4. Deeper Dive at 6. Live Before Lock at 7. You can use the promo code NBA Strategy when signing up for 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. Once again, shout out to Yahoo Sports for being our presenting sponsor. Check out Awesemo's live blog, which is free in front of the paywall today, along with the NFL Top Showdown plays and NHL projections. Adam, anything else?
I'll be back at 6 with Laffy to spend an hour talking about the slate again.
I assumed you were just going to be like, nope. Didn't think I was getting a real answer there. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck on this 2-gamer. It's going to be a doozy. Pour one out now for the people on FanDuel that get bit by all the late news that happens for that 10:30 start. Talk to you later.